Here is Pastor Paul with today's Destined for Victory message, Kingdom First Living.
And I'm here to tell you that God has blessings and provisions, and there's so much that God will do, but he's looking for a people who will be sold out to his purpose, whose passion in life will be to do his will and to please him. Fact of the matter is, some of us couldn't afford to be blessed right now. We can't afford it because our pursuits and our passions are out of sync already. And if God were to bring kingdom resources into an unruly life, it's not a blessing, it's a curse. Now, look at the passage again. Jesus said, don't worry about what you eat or drink, what you'll put on. And then he made an interesting comment. He said, for the pagans run after these things. What's he mean? The pagans, he's talking about ungodly people. People who do not yet revere him as King of Kings or Lord of Lords. And he said, what they do because they don't know me, because they're not aligned with my agenda, is their lives are characterized by the pursuit of things. The pursuit of having their needs met. The pursuit of having their desires fulfilled. He said that characterizes the pagans. It is not to characterize my kids. Now we got a problem because we got a lot of Christians who, instead of treating him like king, they treat him like president. And some don't even treat him like president. They treat him like a bellhop. Like his job is to do what I want. Some treat him like Santa Claus. I'm making my list and I'm going to send my list to you and you need to give me everything on my list. And I'm here to tell you that God says to us in this passage, that is the business of pagans. To pursue the acquisition of things, to pursue the acquisition of their needs and desires. He said, my children are not to pursue that. Oh, that means some of us got to hit the altar. Because some of us, all we've done is Christianized our pursuit of things. We've Christianized our pursuit of needs and desires. We've taken a bunch of scriptures and said, it is God's job to do what I want him to do. And I'm here to tell you, Jesus made it plain, said that's the business of pagans. That's for people that don't know me. So if you're serious about being a kingdom citizen, you have got to abandon as the pursuit and purpose and passion of your life your desire for things and for the kinds of things that are on the list that we created at the beginning of the message. I didn't say you couldn't have them. But Jesus said, you've got to put the kingdom as your pursuit. Thus the question, why do you want what you want? What will you do with the blessing? Some of us can't afford to be blessed. We're not praying now. We're not seeking the kingdom now. We're not doing his will now. Can't afford to be blessed. Let's talk about some of the examples that I gave as possibilities. Some of us desire the acquisition of things. I want more things. Lord, I want to own property. I hear that's a sound investment, especially in these shaky times. I want to own more property. Question is why? What will you do with that? Who will get the benefit from that? What makes you think God wants that for you? Finances. I would love to have $10 million. If you were given $10 million today, what would you do with it? What would you see as your responsibility with those resources? For some, the pursuit is matters of career. I want to change careers. Why? I want a promotion on my job. Why? You want to be in charge of folk who are getting on your nerves? You now want to be over them? Some of us, it's relational. I'm tired of being single. I want to be married. Why? Why do you want to get married? Well, I just think I'll be a more fulfilled person if I have the things that are on my list. All right, let's go through there. So some would say, I think I'll be happier, more fulfilled if I have property. It will give me a sense of security. I know I always have somewhere to live. I think I'll be happier, a more content person. The quality of my life will go up if I own property. Don't decide how happy you'll be with stuff till you talk to folk who have stuff. All you got to do is take a cursory look around this world, and you will see that there are a whole lot of people who have a whole lot of stuff. But the happiness you say the stuff will bring you continues to elude them. In fact, there are some people who will tell you they were happier when they had less stuff. Because now they got more to be dysfunctional about. You've not seen these families fuss and argue over wills? Just give you more to fuss about, more to be dysfunctional about. Rich families not speaking to one another. But they own properties, they own businesses. Some say, I need money. Money would do the trick. Tired of being broke. I need some money. If I could just get a hold of $10 million, I'd be happy. Don't be so sure. Look at folk who have it. Not all folk who have money have the happiness you say the money will bring. You'll find some people who have it and they are contented and living a good and godly life, but you'll also find some people that the worst thing that ever happened to them was they got a hold of too much money. You ever watch some of these documentaries that have followed people who have won these lotteries? Don't you see how sad and miserable so many of them are? Miseries they never even knew existed have come into their lives now that they have stuff. Because money and possessions reveals what's in a person's heart. Jesus said that. And all money will do is show you up and show the people up around you for who they really are. You're not always in touch when you're broke. You don't quite know what's going on. You're busy trying to make these ends meet or at least get close enough together to look at one another. But Jesus said where your treasure is, it's going to lead straight to your heart. And so there are some people who have it, but that happiness that you assume it'll bring you eludes them.
We'll be right back with more of today's Destined for Victory message from Pastor Paul Sheppard. He's Senior Pastor at Destiny Christian Fellowship in Fremont, California. If you enjoy listening to Destined for Victory, we know you'll love watching some of Pastor's best video clips by subscribing to Pastor Paul on YouTube. For more details on all of his social media, scroll to the bottom of the homepage on our brand new website. The address is the same, pastorpaul.net. And there you can always listen on demand to recent messages and find a variety of new features and resources. That's pastorpaul.net. Now stay with us after today's message when Pastor Paul joins me from his studio. But first, let's further examine the desires of our heart in the rest of today's message, Kingdom First Living. Here's Pastor Paul.
Some people say, for me, it's relational. If I could just, I'm tired of being single. If I could just get married, I'd be happy. Have you talked to married folk? They come in two categories. There are married people who are enjoying their lives, enjoying a good quality of life, enjoying a good and godly relationship. Oh, but there's another bunch. And it's not a small group. We're not talking about a growth group of couples. We're talking about you could fill up stadiums all over the United States. If you just called one day, all of you who are married and miserable, just meet us at AT&T Park. Oh, they would fly in. They would bus in. They'd roll in on scooters and they'd come on helicopters, be dropping out the sky. Get off a BART, get off the bus, get off the train, heading into the park. If marriage alone made people happy, why are more than half of them trying to get out? The point is, a blessing can't be defined as the thing. The property isn't a blessing in and of itself. It depends on whose hands it falls into. For some people, it's a blessing because it will serve God's purpose. But for some people, that property is a curse because they would be like the man in Luke 12 that Jesus said was so busy accumulating, he never stopped to find out what the purpose was for which God gave it to him. And God called him a fool. And he's building barns to house stuff he doesn't know why he has. And in the midst of that futile lifestyle, his soul is required of him. For some, it's a blessing, but for others, it's a curse. For some, money would be a wonderful blessing because they are kingdom first in the focus of their living. It's God, why did you give this to me? What is your purpose for this? And for others, it would be the worst curse that's ever come into their lives. For some, a relationship would be a wonderful blessing. You would know why God gave you a husband or wife. Some folk get married and don't know what to do with a husband or wife. They get married and assume, all right, you're in my life to make me happy. Get to it. Let's go. I promise you, if you get married with that in mind, you are an accident waiting to happen. If you think God's sending somebody into your life to make you happier than you are now, I promise you, you don't want to get married. Some married people say, if we just had children, our home is so empty. It's void of the noise and the laughter and the play and the... You ever talk to folk with kids? I know people who have 3 theories about child raising and no kids. Just get 3 kids and see where your theories go. For some people, it would be a great blessing. But if you don't know why God would give you children, they will not be a blessing. And you will not be a blessing to them. You will be cursed and so will they. Jesus says the pagans pursue these things as though they are the end. They are the pot of gold at the end of the rainbow. The pagans go after things. He said, but my children, I've got to teach them to go after the kingdom. Seek first the kingdom. God, you are in charge of my life and everything pertaining to me. How much more would we get done for God if our churches were full of kingdom first people instead of spiritual consumers who show up to see what are y'all going to do for me? How you going to make me feel? I got to get through another week. You better sing the right songs when I show up. I better like who's preaching. Don't y'all put somebody up there I don't feel like hearing. Your job is to fill me up, make me happy, give me some joy. so I can get out here in this world and deal with this crazy place. And the reason why we can't get much done for God in our churches all over the country is because we have too many spiritual consumers and too few kingdom first people. What would this church be if thousands of folk fell on their faces before God and said, Lord, for you I'll live and for you I'll die. My life is about doing your will. My life is about serving you and pleasing you. My money is yours. My property is yours. If you bless me with a spouse, I'll give you the marriage back. If you bless me with children, I'll give you the children back. If you bless me with money, I'll give you the money back. What would we do for God if everybody was kingdom first? I want to tell you something. I don't know what the answer would be, but I sure want to be part of it. I've seen God do some things in these years, but in the coming years of ministry, I want to see him just blow the top off. But I'm here to tell you, he can't do it with lukewarm, sometimes in, sometimes out, sometimes up, sometimes down. He's got to find people who will pursue and have a passion to see that the will of God done. And here's the thing I'm absolutely convinced of. For those of us who will join the kingdom first bunch, I believe because we're in the closing hours of time and there's an urgency in heaven to get the gospel out and to change lives before Jesus returns, that we are subject to see God bless us with anything when he knows that we will turn around and say, God, this belongs to you. Not my will, but thine be done. And so, if we seek first the kingdom, Jesus said, don't worry about your needs. Your Father already knows you need them. When you pray, you're not giving God information, you know. We ought to pray. We ought to pray. We're told to pray. We're told to cast our cares on him. But prayer is really to get it off of us. Prayer is to exercise our faith. You can choose to doubt or you can choose to have faith. And so God gives us choice. And so you pray and exercise your faith. Say, Lord, I'm believing you for this. That's why he calls us to pray. But he's not telling you to pray so you can give him information. When you pray, God's not saying, you don't say. Jesus said, your Father already knows. He knows what you need. He knows the desires of your heart. He knows those of us who, when he blesses us with money, we know exactly what to do with it. We'll pray and say, God, what's your plan for all of this? We've gone beyond the tithing mentality. We know that 10% doesn't belong to God. The whole thing belongs to God. So the whole question is, how much of this do you want me to put into taking care of myself and my family and my investments and all of that? God's not opposed to you setting yourself up. But where is your heart? What are your pursuits? What is your passion? What's the first thing you think when you see God deliver a resource into your life? Citizens of the kingdom say, God, since I'm yours, this resource is yours. What do you want? And I'm here to tell you, if we'll seek first the kingdom and his righteousness, he's promised he'll meet our needs. And he's promised he'll give us the desires of our heart. Because, as I'll say as I continue to unpack this theme, when we learn to truly delight ourselves in God, it purifies and sanctifies our desires. You can't be kingdom first and want things the king doesn't want. And when your desires are sanctified, the king is pleased to give you the desires of your heart.
Thanks so much for being here for today's Destined for Victory message, Kingdom First Living. As promised, Pastor Paul joins us at the mic now. Pastor, we've talked many times about the power in partnership and something we see in Scripture, don't we? Certainly we've realized it as a media ministry. Let's take a moment and talk about the importance to you of our Destined for Victory partners.
Yeah, I'm glad to be able to do this because I need our listeners to understand they are playing such a key role in the presenting of the gospel through Destined for Victory all around the world. I want them to know your partnership is very, very important and necessary. When you think about it, starting way back, I'm thinking about Moses. He could not have been Moses without the partners God gave him. Yep. The Bible called Joshua Moses' minister before it called him God's minister. And Joshua was one of those key people. Aaron, his brother, was one of his key partners. Every man or woman of God since then, all the way into, of course, when you get to the ministry of Jesus, Jesus himself required partnership. Isn't that amazing that the God-man needed partners? He took Peter, James, and John farther into the Garden of Gethsemane, and he said, just stay here and watch with me. And he cried and poured out his heart to get ready for that moment when he would lay down his life for us. And he needed that partnership. He had Peter, James, and John. He also had Mary, Martha, and Lazarus. Then when you look at the apostles, there is no Paul without Timothy, without Silas, without Barnabas, and on and on. All of us need partners. So the bottom line is, I'm so grateful for every man, woman, boy, and girl who has become a partner for our ministry, so you can keep on providing this platform where I can share the good news of Jesus Christ. And I'm praying the Lord will raise up more partners so that we can reach even more people for the Lord Jesus Christ.